My name is Emma. I am 34 years old, and I used to be a doctor in a big hospital in London. People said I was successful. I worked long hours. I saved lives. I had a good salary, respect, and a modern apartment with a view of the city. But I was not happy. Every morning, I woke up tired. My alarm always rang before sunrise. I drank strong coffee and looked at my face in the mirror. There were dark circles under my eyes. My skin looked pale. I told myself it was fine. Everyone was tired. Everyone was busy. That was normal. But deep inside, I felt empty. I had no time for friends. I had no time for my parents. I missed birthdays and holidays. My phone was full of unread messages. I told myself that my work mattered more, that people needed me. Maybe it was true, but I was losing myself in the process. I didn't know who I was without my white coat and ID badge. Sometimes, when I left the hospital late at night, the streets were quiet. I stood under the streetlights and watched the empty road. The city felt cold and heavy. My mind never stopped thinking about patients, about mistakes, about what I still needed to do. I couldn't rest. One day, during a long surgery, my hands began to shake. The room was hot. My vision blurred. The next thing I knew, everything went dark. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed, with an IV in my arm. This time, I was the patient. My boss told me to take time off. My mother cried on the phone. My best friend said softly, "Emma, you can't save everyone. You have to save yourself first." For the first time, I listened. A week later, I quit my job. I packed a small bag, some clothes, a few books, my stethoscope. I left my apartment keys on the counter and drove away. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I needed to breathe again. After hours on the road, I reached a small village by the sea. The sky was white and blue. The air smelled of salt and grass. I stopped in front of a small farmhouse with a wooden sign that said, "Rooms for rent." The owner, an older woman named Margaret, opened the door. She had kind eyes and a calm smile. "You look tired, dear," she said. "Stay as long as you need." I nodded, trying not to cry. The first days felt strange. I woke up without an alarm. I didn't know what to do with the silence. I had no schedule, no patience, no pressure. I sat on the porch with a cup of coffee and listened to birds. The wind moved through the trees. It felt almost too quiet. I was afraid of the stillness at first. Then, slowly, it began to comfort me. I helped Margaret with small chores. I fed the chickens, watered the plants, and learned how to bake bread. My hands, once used to metal tools and gloves, now touched soil and dough. It was simple, but it felt real. My body began to relax, and my mind followed. One morning, Margaret asked me to help her carry hay to the barn. That's where I met Daniel. He was the village vet. He wore old jeans and a checked shirt, his hair messy from the wind. His hands were rough, but his smile was gentle.
You must be the city doctor,
He said, with a small laugh. And you must be the village vet, I answered. He grinned.
Guilty.
He came often to check on the animals. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we just worked quietly. He told me about the people in the village, about the animals he treated, about the storms that came every winter. I liked the sound of his voice. It was calm, steady, and kind. One afternoon, we went to help a farmer with a sick cow. The road was muddy. I slipped, and Daniel cut my arm before I fell. We both laughed.
You city doctors need better boots,
He said. His hand stayed for a moment longer than needed. My heart beat faster. I looked away, smiling. After that day, I started to look forward to seeing him. We walked together by the cliffs and talked about everything: books, dreams, and fears. I told him about the hospital, about how I lost myself trying to be perfect. He listened without judgment. He said softly,
You don't have to fix everything, Emma. Sometimes, just being here is enough.
His words stayed with me. Weeks passed, and I began to feel lighter. I slept better. I laughed more. Margaret noticed it too. You look different, she said one morning. Your eyes are alive again. I smiled. It felt true. The summer fair arrived in the village. Daniel invited me to go with him. The evening air was warm. There were lights, music, and people dancing. Children ran with candy in their hands. It felt so alive. Daniel turned to me and said,
Dance with me, doctor.
I can't dance, I said, laughing.
Then just move with me.
He replied. So I did. The music was slow. He placed his hand on my back, and I felt safe. I hadn't felt that in years. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window and watched the moonlight on the sea. I thought about my old life. The hospital. The endless days. The exhaustion. I realized I didn't miss it. I missed nothing about that version of me. I felt free. The next morning, I found Daniel near the barn. He was brushing a horse.
You're up early.
He said. I couldn't sleep, I replied. He smiled.
Something on your mind?
I hesitated, then said, I think I'm finally happy. Not the kind of happy people see from the outside, but the quiet kind. The kind that feels like breathing again. He nodded.
That's the best kind.
Then he asked softly.
Will you stay?
I looked at him. The sea wind touched my hair. I don't know what comes next, I said. but I want to find out here." He smiled.
That's enough for me.
We kissed. It was soft, real, and peaceful. It felt like coming home. Months passed. I didn't go back to the city. I opened a small health clinic with Daniel's help. I treated villagers who couldn't travel far. I listened to their stories and gave them time. Healing, I learned, was not just about medicine. It was about kindness and presence. Daniel and I built a life together. We woke early, worked hard, and laughed often. Some days were simple and quiet. Other days were busy and messy. We argued sometimes, but always found our way back. Life wasn't perfect, but it was real. Sometimes, I still miss the hospital lights, the rush, the feeling of control. But I didn't miss the emptiness. Here, I had space to breathe, to love, to live. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror again. The woman I saw was still me, but different. Her eyes were bright. Her smile was calm. She wasn't running anymore. She had stopped chasing success and started choosing peace. People from the city sometimes visited the village. They asked, "Why did you leave such a good career?" I just smiled and said, "I didn't leave it. I just found a new way to heal." They often looked confused, but I didn't mind. Not everything needs explaining. I walk outside and see Daniel waving from the barn. Margaret calls from the kitchen, telling me breakfast is ready. The sea breeze smells fresh and clean. I lift my face to the sunlight and take a deep breath. I remember the day I walked away from everything. It was terrifying, but it was also the best thing I ever did. I used to think healing was something I gave to others. Now I know it begins when you have the courage to heal yourself. And that's what I did. I walked away to save myself and found my heart waiting here all along.